Vile, DC's version of Venom, explored. Gotham is a city that has been rocked by seemingly endless waves of violence. The city always has been a haven for creatures that yearn for nightmares and chaos. But what we are looking at happens to be a new villain, busy stalking the streets and affecting people with a parasite, which then takes complete control of them. Well, it is only fitting to address this menace as one of the newest terrifying additions to the Batman's Rogues Gallery. Also, remember, if Marvel's got Venom, then DC's got Vile. And mind you, the latter happens to be vile in every sense of the term. So here we are exploring Hugh Vile, the DC version of Venom, who first appeared in the 1034th issue of writer Mariko Tamaki, artist Dan Mora, and colorist Jordi Belaire's Detective Comics. So are you ready? If so, let's roll. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a very small click for you, but for us, it means a whole lot. So thank you, and let's begin. Hugh Vile's parasite insane origin explored. The battle for Gotham begins. Hugh Vile is first introduced at a fundraiser held by Mayor Nakano that gets attacked by remnants from the Joker War. We learn that Hugh is employed as a staffer for the mayor. One good glance at him, and we will look at this seemingly docile man. He has a slim build, and he is seen wearing glasses, and he now adds a little bit of stubble on the face, a pair of green eyes, brown hair, and there, you have your man. Now, as we move ahead with our story, a series of odd murders have started plaguing the city of Gotham. It begins with the shocking death of Sarah Worth, whose body is discovered in the sewers. Sarah happened to be the beloved daughter of a very powerful and wealthy Gothamite, Roland Worth. We'd like to stress further on this Gothamite here. Ronald is not your average Gotham power figure. He is a man who built most of Lower Gotham, and his daughter's death symbolizes the sole fact that the nightmare has finally arrived at the elite's front door. At the funeral held for Sarah, Ronald lets everyone present there know that he is hell-bent on seeking justice for his daughter. The readers eventually learn that Sarah's murder happens to be the 10th massacre taking place in Gotham in a span of just 2 months. This brings us to Helena Bertinelli, more popular known as the Huntress, who has also been busy tracking the violent murders taking place in the city. With her eventually joining hands with Batman to investigate the murder case of Sarah Worth, the duo get clued in on a connection. Neil Butterman, who not only works for the mayor but also happens to be his assistant. They are seen tracing his cell phone, which eventually leads them to Neil on top of a building in downtown Gotham. But before the duo can question him, Neil passes away. Looking at Neil's current state and the condition of his exploded eyes, they come to the conclusion that this is not the work of the mob or a serial killer for that matter. Moreover, Neil's bloody hands also raise a few questions, which eventually startle the readers into making another shocking discovery: the death of Bruce Wayne's overzealous neighbor, Lydia Warren. Huntress reaches out to Barbara Gordon, or in other words, the Oracle, and sends her some images while asking her about reports of incidents of parasitic infections similar to Neil's in Gotham, cross-referenced with other incidents of violent attacks. Barbara tells her that she will do a database scan for the police and hospital reports, and also ask her if the current case is related to a certain Mary Knox case. The Huntress states to her that the whole thing is probably part of something way bigger. This is when Barbara fills in the Hunter about the new murder case of Lydia, and the police are currently looking for Batman. But by then, Batman has already left the scene, and we find Bruce back at Fort Grave, where reporter Deb Donovan informs him about Lydia's murder. Deb also tells Bruce that apparently someone heard Lydia talking to him last night. Bruce is taken to the Gotham City Police Department for further questioning. The Wrath of Roland Worth. The detectives are seen cross-questioning Bruce, asking him about his whereabouts the previous night. With Bruce telling him that he was out with a friend, they ask him the name of his alibi. He is initially seen hesitating, and then telling them that if he is handed his phone, he will be able to tell them who he was out with. Meanwhile, Mayor Nakano is seen watching a live video of Bruce's questioning when an infuriated Roland Worth bursts into his office. Roland is highly enraged at the fact that he has been kept in the dark in relation to Bruce Wayne being a primary suspect in his daughter's murder. While Nakano informs him that the police are currently investigating and the latter will be kept in the loop with the progress of the investigation, Ronald holds the mayor accountable for things and storms out. This is precisely when we get to see Hugh Vile again at the mayor's office, and the entire altercation takes place right in front of him. Coming back to the Oracle, she is seen relaying information to the Huntress from what she has been able to put together. Apparently, she has discovered a bunch of cases of the ocular discharge as the result of a parasite, and states to her that she has come across 10 such cases, which look exactly like the images that the Huntress had sent. These include a sample of Sarah Worth's husband, Sam Tern, who died in the hospital after attacking an ER doctor. The Oracle further states that while she was not able to find a direct link between them and any of the recent murders, what she was sure of is the fact that these medical anomalies usually start showing up around the same time as a huge uptick in violent attacks in Gotham, and not to disregard the fact that all of these parasitic cases were fatal. While Barbara is seen tipping off the Huntress, the readers get to see what Hugh Vile is up to in a parallel comic panel. We see him stepping out for a break and following a stranger who is on an intense phone call with somebody. With the stranger figuring out that Hugh has been following him, he is seen abusing him and telling him to mind his own business. This is when Hugh is seen coming up to the stranger and telling him that this is his business now and that this is what he does. After he is seen grabbing the stranger, a sinister yes comes out from him, and the readers get to see a glowing green tendrils emerging from his mouth, much to the stranger's horror. Yes, this inconspicuous being is finally disclosed as the very source of Gotham's soaring violent problems. Again, coming back to Barbara, she is seen updating the Huntress on Bruce Wayne getting arrested as a suspect in Sarah Worth's murder. With the Huntress asking her where Bruce is, the Oracle gives her the location. Bruce, in the meantime, learns that he will not be able to call his lawyer right away, as there seems to be a hold on that for the moment. A few minutes later, the entire GCPD looks like it got deserted. While Bruce is seen pondering about his next move, we find Roland Worth arming himself with a bazooka and heading straight towards the station. With Bruce realizing that he can have access to the station's surveillance, he sees Mr. Worth outside with a rocket launcher. No points for guessing what happens next. The Huntress witnesses the whole station in flames from a distance. As for Roland, he is seen categorizing his whole action under justice. Nonetheless, Bruce is seen surviving, and while he isn't exactly in good shape, he finds Roland approaching him. With Bruce stating to him that he did not kill Sarah, the latter rebukes him and tells him that he knows him very well. A crazed Mr. Worth starts firing at Bruce and tells him that he knows that he took what belonged to him. Luckily, his shots miss Bruce by inches, and he is able to escape from him for the time being and make it to the DIY cave. But Roland is not the one to give up. He is seen following Bruce around the underground, determined to blow up the whole city in order to kill him. But by then, Bruce has managed to change into Batman, and having no other options left, he is seen confronting Roland. With the not-so-average grieving father pouncing on Batman, he makes his attempt to make him understand that neither he nor Bruce is responsible for his daughter's death. But Roland isn't ready to believe him. To him, Batman is nobody but a coward who is hiding behind a mask. With Batman asking Roland if he wants the truth or vengeance, he tells him that he wants Wayne. After an intense battle between the duo, Batman is able to subdue Mr. Worth and bring him to the station. Charged with the destruction of property, Roland is arrested only to be released later. As for Batman, he is seen arriving at the apartment of the Huntress. He tells her that Worth is not going to stop unless he sees him and Bruce in body bags. With the duo further discussing the death of Neil Betterman, they come to the conclusion that they are looking for some kind of a host, and that Sarah, Lydia, Neil, as well as Sam are all connected to the host in some way or another. As they are seen forming a conjecture that there is a possibility that they could all be connected to the mayor's office, Barbara tells them to watch the news, which has Mr. Worth giving an open threat to both Bruce Wayne and Batman. The Penguin, on the other hand, has also been watching the news, and upon seeing Roland Worth challenging that, he decides to return the latter's phone call. Coming back to Batman, he is seen strategizing his next move with the Huntress. He tells the latter to wait till dark. At the same time, look into the recent civic hires that have taken place in the mayor's office. Batman believes that if he is right, then it will be someone new, someone on the outside moving in. It is also around the same time Hugh Vile is seen approaching the vengeful Roland Worth, with him telling Roland that he can help him with Bruce Wayne. The latter shoves him inside of his car. Vile tells him that he wants what he wants, that he is a fan of men of great power, men who are ready to use their force to exercise their strength. He further tells Roland that he sees great potential in his plans, in the continuance of his actions, and that it is men like him who produce the desired effect that he values, violence and chaos. In short, Vile ends up manipulating Roland to stir even more chaos throughout the city and goes to extreme lengths, eventually using reporter Deb Donovan as bait. While Batman and the Huntress are able to save Donovan in the nick of time by getting her out of the tunnels, Roland is literally seen blowing up the city. The rise of Vile. Now comes the part that we've all been waiting for, the origin of the mysterious new villain Vile. We finally learn things from Vile's perspective. He was an ordinary little boy until it dawned upon him that he was completely different. As a kid, he was always hungry, but he just couldn't eat. For those of you who are wondering why Vile blames it on something that he addresses as the Thing, we learned the Thing not only lives in him, but it also happens to be him. It is the Thing that is bound to feed what it desires, and that's violence. Vile is next seen addressing the city of Gotham as a sanctuary for creatures like him who crave for nightmares and chaos. The audience finally learns that Vile is the one responsible for the death of Sarah Worth, and had he known that killing Mr. Worth's daughter would bring his desired result, he would have asked his parasitic children to take care of things long ago. We next learn that Vile is not even from Gotham. He first came to the city as a child with his mother to see a few doctors at Gotham General. He had learned from his mother that summer that he turned 8, he contracted a disease while swimming in a waterhole. Vile's mother was extremely concerned about her child, and she had her reasons. After all, you can't have a child that's hungry and not be able to eat at the same time. Naturally, with Vile displaying sickness and odd behavior, he was taken to the doctors to be examined. The doctors, assuming that the whole thing was a foreign fungal infection, put Vile on medication, but it became pretty clear that whatever he had could not be treated with regular medicine. It was not long before Vile discovered that he could actually spread his infection to other people, and in doing so, also control their violent behaviors. In fact, doing so was the only thing that made him feel stronger, and he found his first victim in the city. It goes without saying that Vile continued spreading infection, violence, paranoia, and ultimately death everywhere he went for years. It is the violence of his victims that eventually feeds him and the Thing inside of him. But anyway, coming back to the storyline, we find Donovan infected when she suddenly ends up stabbing Batman with a shard of glass. The Huntress is able to incapacitate Donovan when a wounded Batman gets ambushed again by Mr. Worth and is forced to engage in battle with him. As for the Huntress, the Oracle reaches out to her and fills her in about the mayor calling a citywide emergency and about a solid percentage of the city's worst criminals have taken to the streets. Next, she confirms Hugh Vile as the source of the infections and also adds that the only weakness that Vile's parasite seems to have is being susceptible to bright lights and UV rays. With Batman occupied by Mr. Worth, as well as the thugs of the Penguin, the Huntress decides to check out Vile all by herself. Having underestimated the capabilities of Vile, she ends up being a victim of Vile's insatiable hunger, thereby getting infected in the process. In fact, a close-up scene shows Vile implanting a piece of its biomass in the very throat of the Huntress, which is followed by another close-up shot of the Huntress falling on the ground and having these grotesque-looking glowing green mandibles along with mouth-dangling tendrils. It is not a pretty sight. Also, while all of this is happening, she did manage to stab Vile with a sharp object, thus wounding him and making him also fall to the ground along with her. Batman, on the other hand, is barely able to get the upper hand on Mr. Worth when he ends up getting attacked by the now infected Huntress. What ensues is a brief fight which has the Huntress still trying to come out of Vile's possession and suggests Batman that he uses a bright light on her. Batman does so, and the result nearly blinds Vile as he is seen covering his eyes while screaming in pain. As Vile is later seen getting escorted by the thugs of Penguin that he had earlier corrupted to someplace safe, we learn that Donovan, along with the Huntress, has been hospitalized and they have started receiving proper treatment. The Oracle informs Batman that the doctors at the hospital are using a pretty toxic cocktail of stuff, which is making the parasite shrink. The day is saved, so to speak, but standing amongst the rubble, Batman knows that he cannot exactly call this a good win. Like it or not, Bruce Wayne still happens to be the primary suspect in the murder of Sarah Worth, and if the case is going ahead, Batman realizes that he needs to pursue it without having the police go after him and Batman. To put things back to where it was, Bruce turns himself back in. Of course, it was all part of his plan. Add the Oracle to the plan, a character who knew exactly how to get Bruce out of jail. But to be honest, these guys aren't the only ones with a plan. The readers are simultaneously taken to the office of the Penguin, where it is revealed that even he has plans for Bruce. By the look of that sinister grin on his face and a particular phone call that has him getting the new address of Wayne, the Penguin surely looks like he has some very big plans in store for Wayne. Coming back to Bruce, with his alibi checking out, he is released from the police station, oblivious to the fact that his apartment has been deliberately blown up. Somewhere in Gotham City's shipyard, Roland Worth is called by the Penguin, who informs him that Vile is still very much alive. With Roland asking how alive Vile is, the Penguin shows him his army of criminals. The Penguin further states to him the plans for Bruce Wayne's violent death are already underway, and if he is to carry things out effectively, they have to cut off Wayne's protection, Batman first, and then only will he be able to serve Wayne's beating heart to Roland on a silver platter. The Penguin finally takes Roland to an unconscious Vile, whose hands are tied. Pointing to Vile, the Penguin addresses him as a monster and tells Roland that with Vile, they have all that they need in order to destroy Batman. Gotham burns. From a certain meeting taking place between Mayor Nakano and two police officers, we learn of more explosions, this time in the sewer system. This brings us to Bruce, who upon reaching his DIY cave, which happens to be a series of micro bat caves placed throughout the city's underground, realizes the damage Mr. Worth has already caused. He is seen contacting the Oracle, who informs him about a rumor going around, a coordinated effort by an army of villains to kill both Bruce Wayne and Batman. With Bruce telling the Oracle that he needs gear, the latter tells him about an old stack of his by the docks and sends him to the location. Bruce, as Batman, is seen immediately going after Roland Worth, who happens to be waiting for him in one of his warehouses downtown, along with a jury. One conversation leads to another, and an inevitable fight breaks out, which has the criminals firing at him. Well, if only that were the case. But the goal was something else. Apparently a few hours earlier, the Penguin had his men take out some vile serum from the throat-dwelling parasite, only to dart Batman with it, much to his complete horror. As for the Oracle, she is seen finally being able to reach out to the Huntress. The latter, mind you, had checked out of the hospital the minute she started recovering. With the Oracle stating the current location of Batman to the Huntress, the duo tell each other at the same time that Batman is infected. The Huntress is seen confiding in the Oracle that while she can't really explain things, she is able to see Vile's victims for some unknown reason. She further informs the Oracle that Vile has Batman and leaves for the warehouse. In the meantime, everyone back at the warehouse is impatiently waiting for the parasite to have its maddening effect on Batman and make him go batshit crazy. While Batman is literally seen struggling to hold on to his own conscience, Vile ends up getting an upper hand on him and making him his mind-controlled puppet. With the parasite taking hold of Batman a bit too quickly, the criminals literally start getting thrashed. As the Penguin tells his men to vacate the area, Roland prevents him from doing so, and it results in the latter getting attacked by the former. After all, the Penguin is simply in the mood to put himself in danger, and he is seen leaving the area. As for the now infected Batman, he is seen going after Roland as per the orders of Vile. With him approaching Roland to take him down, the latter is seen knocking him down only to realize that Batman isn't human anymore. After cornering Roland up on the roof, Batman is seen engaging himself in a duel with him. The fight is brief but intense, and with Vile ordering Batman to end Roland for him, he attempts to resist, stating that he won't. Vile tells him that it is his hunger and Batman is bound to obey him. There comes a moment when Batman literally has Roland hanging from the roof and dropping him only to fire his grapple gun and have the monofilament wire get tied around Roland's wrists. So while Roland is seen crashing down, the impact is less. It is also around the same time that the readers find Huntress finally reaching the venue. Looking around the carnage in front of her, the Huntress tells the Oracle that close to 50 men are seen trying to kill each other there. With the Huntress coming for Batman, Vile tells his mind-controlled puppet to kill her next. Batman, in an attempt to resist himself from causing regrettable damage, ends up tying his own hands. The Huntress, with her newfound powers, realizes that Vile is also in the warehouse and comes face to face with him. She tells him that she is done hunting down his nightmare spawn. With Vile commanding Batman to end the Huntress right away, Batman is seen crashing through a glass door behind, only to end up attacking Vile instead of the Huntress. The result of a heavy thrust has the host parasite inside Hugh Vile come out of his throat, and while it is in midair, the Huntress hits it with a single well-placed bolt from her crossbow pistol, seemingly killing it. As for Hugh Vile, he falls on the ground, only to be taken to the hospital where he is reported to have died 7 hours later. Bruce and Helena are next seen at a cemetery in front of Sarah Worth's grave, with Helena telling Bruce that she still doesn't understand how he managed not to kill Roland Worth and tie his own hands instead, despite being under the control of Vile. Bruce tells her that too many near-death experiences have left him adapt. Helena still can't come to terms with the fact that Batman was actually darted with the Vile serum. Bruce tells her that it wasn't a great plan at the end of the day because it diluted the effect. Both are seen parting their ways before telling each other where to find them. As for the Vile parasite, that was certainly not the end of it. It is during the autopsy of Hugh Vile that is discovered by the coroner that Vile is filled with a cluster of tiny eggs, some of which seem to roll away by themselves towards the drainage. There is no denying that Hugh Vile is an unusual Batman villain. For heroes like the Huntress and Batman to eventually fall victim to Vile's parasite has on display the very nature of violence in the city of Gotham and its adverse effects on everyone. With this, we have come to the very end of our video here. Hit us up with your thoughts on Vile in the comment section and stay tuned with us for more interesting content. And if you liked the content from today, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. And in the meantime, have a good one and be safe. Thank you, everyone.